Hilary Clinton is in a historic position, and on November 8th, she could very well be our first Madam President. But beneath that milestone lies a serious absence of women in elected office. Because when it comes to women rising to the highest offices in the land, the US has long lagged behind the rest of the world. To see this in action, let's take a peek at Congress. All the way back in 1917, Jeannette Rankin became the first woman to serve in the US House of Representatives. And 1 century later, the number of women in Congress has climbed from 1 all the way to 104, but that's still only 19%. Consider this: women make up half of the US population, and yet are consistently less than 25% of those in elected office nationwide. And women of color have fared even worse. Right now, minority women only make up 6% of Congress, despite being 20% of the US population. Going back to congressional women as a whole, if we compare the percentage of their representation to every other country on the planet, the United States comes in at 96, tucked right between Cyprus and Kyrgyzstan. But what difference does gender really make? Well, studies show that women tend to prioritize policy differently than men. Just look at the 103rd Congress. For a bunch of different reasons, the number of women winning seats in '92 had doubled. The result? Newer added funding for women's health initiatives, the Violence Against Women Act, and an assault weapons ban. Digging a little deeper, we see these are the result of how women voted on key legislation. Democratic women voted differently than Democratic men, and the Republican side is even more dramatic. So for a nation that has long prided itself on innovation and leadership worldwide, how is it that we still see so few women representing us? Well, aside from not being legally allowed to vote in most states until 1920, there's a gatekeeper challenge. The people who groom future candidates and decide who does and doesn't run are still mostly guys. Women also still take on a greater share of childcare and housework, which limits our career advancement in many fields, politics among them. And compared to men, we still get more attention from the media about our looks, personality, and marital status. All pretty big barriers when it comes to seeking public office. And yet, several studies have found that when women run, they win, and at about the same rate as men. It's not so much an issue of qualifications or performance, but that not enough women run in the first place. So just by running, Hilary Clinton and others like her have pushed our expectations forward. The share of Americans who said they would be willing to vote for a woman president has climbed to 95%. Having a woman in the White House won't magically fix the gender disparity in other offices, but if seeing is believing, American life under a woman commander-in-chief could alter our notions of who can lead in ways we can only begin to imagine.